Hi, I'm Mike Thompson. We took apart a lawnmower, 2 years ago maybe, and we've been hanging on to some parts. Well, it's time to get rid of those parts now because we haven't used them. Alex was very curious about how this transmission/differential worked. And so before we throw it away, we're going to take it apart and learn how it works and show you guys as well. I'm sure it's pretty neat. So we just got a bunch of these torques to undo. Here you can see the brake, so that when you pull this lever, it mashes down on this rotor and locks the whole thing up, doesn't it? That has a little bit of slop in it, that's why it can still rotate, but there it stopped, didn't it? If I pull it really hard, you're overpowering me because of your mechanical advantage. Yeah. Okay. We have this axle with the bevel gear on it, and it connects to the bevel spider gears here inside the differential's ring gear. So this was the drive axle, but we're going to remove it for the sake of the demonstration, aren't we? Because it has resistance that we don't need. We're only looking at the transmission gears. There are videos on differentials out there, and I'm not going to talk about that here. I'm going to remove the differential gears like so. These bevel gears here are called spider gears, and these actually fit within this ring gear. That's kind of odd. Ordinarily, this ring gear spins around, and these two spider gears don't rotate on their axis. They only rotate when you're going around a corner. But like I said, those videos are out there somewhere, probably within a couple inches of right here. This shaft here that's a tad askew is the output shaft. We need to get it back in place here. There we go. Okay. So, power comes in on this large bevel gear here. Yep, from right up here, perpendicular to the input shaft. And it's attached to the big pulley that goes to the belt and to the engine. So the power first comes into this gear here. Everything is spinning. See that? But you notice that this shaft here and this shaft here are two separate shafts. The one with the input gear is the input shaft, and the short shaft with the compound gear is the output shaft. Watch. The output shaft is not rotating at the same rate as the input shaft. So power's coming in, and it's going to flow through one of these gears over here. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 forward gears. These 6 are attached to this drive shaft with splines. These all rotate together. Notice? These are all rotating at the same rate. Now look at the counter shaft here. Watch this gear versus this gear here. These are all rotating at the same speed, but now watch these. See this little one? Each gear, as it gets smaller, spins faster than the gear before it. Okay, but if you look, only one of these gears on the counter shaft is spinning at the same rate as the shaft. Only one of these is connected to the shaft, because this little selector here. This little ring was connected to that selector arm. When you pull this selector lever, actually it was over here. When you pull the selector, it causes the ring to slide back and forth like so. I gotta find the right spot. The ring slides back and forth and is connected to two arms inside this slot like so. When it slides, those arms are selecting which gear is engaged to the counter shaft over here. Notice this counter shaft is smooth because these gears have to be able to slip on it until they're engaged by the arms on the ring. Let's slide this all the way over here. You see this tooth? Let me rotate the shaft so that people can see the tooth. There's another one in a groove on this side as well. This position is way beyond neutral. I've pulled it completely out. And if I spin the input gear, see, nothing happens on the output shaft. The counter shaft doesn't rotate at all. So let's push this back in. Oh, these arms are springing out really hard here. I actually pulled it too far out for this demo. The point is that these gears here are always engaged. All the gears are always spinning. However, these on the counter shaft are not always engaged to the shaft. There, I finally got the selector arms back in place. The selector ring has these forks that come down here into this ring groove, and the ring can either rotate with the shaft or not. The assembly just needs to be able to rotate while the selector forks don't. And it needs to be able to slide in and out so that the arms can engage with the keyways that are cut into the gears. There are 6 forward speeds and 1 reverse, and neutral's here in the middle. So let's push this in. We're in reverse. See how these are spinning the same way? Okay, let's go 1 more notch. Okay, try that. Now we're in forward. Are we going fast or slow? We're using this first set of gears here, aren't we? We have a small input and a big output, so we have slow speed, but a lot of torque. Look at this differential ring gear here. It's going the opposite direction and really slow, isn't it? Okay, so let's shove the selector all the way over and look at it now. Much faster, isn't it? And that's how the transmission works. Let's actually go to the whiteboard for a second. So I want to show you a few things that weren't necessarily clear out in the garage with the transmission. The selector forks cross section, of course, looks like this, and there's just 2 metal little, essentially a fork, like 2 tines, so it's a shrimp fork. Fit right in the selector, connected to these arms with the little teeth on the end. Now the teeth, which were sort of visible in the video, fit inside 2 keyways inside of each gear, like this. So after the input bevel gear here, we have reverse. This was slightly differently. Actually, the input was between these 2, but for clarity, I did it like this. Reverse is here, so that when these teeth engage the keyway on this, you have this chain drive, which I didn't show out there. So if you have chains or belts, it makes the 2 pulleys, or sprockets in this case, spin the same direction. That's how they got reverse, because we didn't have to have an idler gear or anything like that with it that slips into place. This was a super simple way to accomplish reverse for that transmission out there. I was kind of blown away by that and never even considered to use a chain drive or something like that in a device like that to achieve a reverse. And then I only drew 3 of the forward gears here. But as you see, you've got your input shaft and your counter shaft. On the counter shaft, you've got the selector ring with the arms that go into the little keyways. This shaft, the counter shaft, was smooth. That wasn't necessarily visible on the video. Underneath the gears, it is smooth because they have to be able to freewheel when they're not engaged to the shaft. The input shaft, however, was splined. I didn't show this. We ended up taking the whole thing apart, but I didn't show this part. And it's splined because it has to transmit torque to the input gears and the input sprockets all the time. And so that's one thing that wasn't shown on there. But for forward, we had 6 forward gears. When you have gears and you mesh, one spins clockwise, the other one's going to spin counterclockwise. And to achieve the reverse, this is what really blew my mind, was that they used a chain inside there. Would have never thought to do that. But that's how this transmission and differential work. It was really, really cool. It was a fun project, something I think Alex learned a lot. I learned quite a bit myself as well. And I hope now that you know how this works, this will inspire you. It will certainly inspire me to then use this sort of concept in something of my own design. But hopefully this helped you guys out. Go ahead and subscribe if you haven't already. I'm Mike Thompson, and thanks for watching. I really appreciate it.